Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Well, I'm going to take a break from my house build here to go help my brother-in-law with his house a little bit. Also, kind of have a fun adventure that has some interesting results. Well, today's video is going to be a little bit different because I'm taking a trip all the way up to Alaska to my brother-in-law's house to do a little bit of work and then take a plane from Palmer and fly it all the way to Oklahoma, which is about a 2,500-mile journey. So it's going to be quite the adventure. And you got to stick around to see what actually happens and see if we actually make it. But first off, I got to start on here in Kentucky, and well, got to get to the airport first and make my way all the way up to the Great White North in Alaska. So enjoy as you see my journey making it there. So this is me leaving Louisville, Kentucky, and now I'm in Denver, Colorado. Since I had a center aisle seat, I didn't get a chance to record on the first flight. So this is actually the Denver flight going all the way to Alaska. And one of the things I love about flying to Alaska is looking out the window and seeing the beautiful scenery, which I was not able to see until the very end. But the clouds are nice, I guess. But when we got a little bit closer to Anchorage, the mountains finally peeked out. You can see a little bit of that beautiful scenery as we were making our approach into Anchorage International Airport. And if you've ever been to Anchorage International Airport, the one thing you must do is take a picture or video of the beautiful moose that is always there awaiting your arrival. And one of the things about Alaska is it does have some beautiful scenery. Now this is the Anchorage area going on out to the Wasilla Palmer area, out to where my brother-in-law and sister live, and it's just always kind of amazing views to watch as you traverse across into the Alaska wilderness. And one of the most amazing spots is right here, the glacier view. You can kind of see right back in the view there. And there was a little moose that kind of poked out for a second, kind of hard to see, but it was actually there. But they had to go do something real quick, so they gave me the keys to their four-wheeler. I was like, well, I'll go explore for a few minutes, and found a street named after me, which was cool. But I went to some back roads to the kind of towards the glacier, I think all the way back there, but kind of went to the river here. It's kind of overflowing with all the glacier and snow melt, but it was kind of fun to kind of drive around a little bit, see some of the scenery and the nice, cool Alaskan summers. And this is about 11 o'clock at night. But anyways, to work, and I did a little bit of work here and there, did some minor electrical for them, get some lights working, and I do a little bit of work to earn my stay for the night. And after that, here we go. Alright, so now that I finished all the work, and we're going to start our adventure of about a 2,500-mile journey back to Oklahoma from Palmer, Alaska. And this is what we're going to fly in, the old Cessna 172, and all its beauty. Let's see if it makes it through the mountains, across the Canadian border, and all the way to Oklahoma.
Want to check that one over here. So this plane, now this is really important. We'll probably top it off.
Now that we complete all of our pre-flight inspections, we are now ready to take off, and we are on our way. One of the things about flying commercial is you're so high you don't really get to enjoy the views. When you're flying in a small plane like this, you're at pretty much eye level with the mountains. We got to see some of the glaciers here. This is Mount Noosa Glacier here. It's kind of amazing to see this. And a lot of the scenery we went through most of the time was pretty much about the same height in the mountains, except for when we're flying over some of them. And it's just kind of really neat views we get to see. Some lakes and water you don't get to see. This is our first pit stop, and got to get some gas about every 3 to 4 hours. And pretty expensive, $9 a gallon for aviation fuel, 100 low lead. And this is one of the areas, what they call a pilot lounge. Got to sign a little log book there. Payphone, isn't that cool? Anyways, here's some more pictures as we continue on in that day, and just some really neat just scenery. Good to see throughout here, and enjoy the beautiful mountain views as we are kind of threading the needle going through some of these here. And we did have to contact Canadian Border Services to give our passport information. That way we could get approval to not only fly in Canadian airspace, but of course land at their airports as well. On this, we actually made it to the Canadian-American border. You can kind of faintly see a line right there, and that is actually the border from America to Canada. So now we're actually on the Canadian side, and we're getting into a lot of wildfires. Kind of neat to see from the air, but it also was kind of difficult to breathe trying to drive through all that smoke. So that was quite exciting. But we did run into a little bit of rain that helped out some. And I ran into a lot of those going up there, a lot of those wildfires going on right now on the Canadian side there. But Anyways, we continued on through the Canadian side and made our first stop here in Canada and refueled up for the night. And of course, everything's in liters here, so different. But we are actually kind of noticed we had a small oil leak, and so in the morning time we kind of checked it again and realized that, well, we better have a mechanic look at it. And so this guy was really nice to help us out, and his name also happened to be Justin, so quite the good name to have. But anyway, so he kind of spent some extra time to look at it kind of last minute on a Saturday, which is really nice of him, especially the weekend before Canada Day, which is of course a very important day for Canadians. So very thankful for him taking the time to look at this. And it was kind of a band-aid fix, which is fine. We did a quick fix for now to allow us to continue on, and we are back up in the air and on our way heading south through the Canadian mountains here. And so again, enjoy the view as we traverse across the wilderness here. His buddies are never going to believe the flight that he just had. And this is some more of those Canadian fires that we kind of ran into here. It's kind of interesting to see them from a distance. Kind of fun to watch them there. And we finally got out of the mountains and more into the flatland and farmland here, and kind of see the mountains off there in the distance. And we are slowly making our way back to the good old US of A. Well, that was our last stop, and we are now about to cross back into the great United States of America. So right there, that road going off to the distance there, it's actually a Canadian line there. We actually had to land on a grass strip here, and we had to meet up with the Border Patrol agents to check back into the United States of America, and that is him right there waiting for us to land. We could not exit the vehicle until he allowed us to. And we got a free ride in the back of the seat. Check back into the United States, and now we're back at the airplane. Inspect the field before we take off, fill in all the holes. And when you're in a field like this, you sometimes just have to run your hand against the grain here and enjoy. Anyway, so here we are taking off, and this is technically on the Canadian side here, so we are officially leaving Canada and are flying back into the United States airspace. And we are now in the great state of Montana. Always enjoy being here, seeing some scenery here. And it's our last stop of the night, and I'm actually making this landing here, enjoying it, having fun flying. We've been switching off back and forth every other leg, flying and landing. And since I have my student pilot rating here, it's been quite fun to get back behind the wheel here and fly some more. Now that we've finally landed at our first airport on American soil, we are going to get some sleep here in a pilot lounge. Not the fanciest, but it was really nice, and it's free $99. Gosh, why do you have so much stuff?
Justin, some of us have to be the cameraman. It's not always easy as you think.
Well, we made it to Laurel, Montana, which is kind of our first half of the leg. This is where my brother-in-law Josh will head back up to Alaska, and I will finish the rest of this journey with my father, and we're going to make it all the way back down to Oklahoma. Well, since we had some time to kill before we start our next leg tomorrow, we might as well go out exploring and see some beautiful scenery here in Montana.
Get bit now. Make me nervous, Justin.
You nervous? I just walked right in front of you. Well, that was quite the exciting adventure. Well, we left Montana and we headed down through Wyoming a little bit, headed into Nebraska, and we actually stayed in Nebraska for the night at Lexington, Nebraska, and we took off in the morning with a nice, pretty little sunrise coming up there, and then we headed down into Kansas, and the trip went pretty quick after this, getting to some kind of boring flatlands, but it's kind of pretty in a way. And then we finally get into Oklahoma, dodging some weather here and there, and now we finally make it to our final approach, which is in Bonita, Oklahoma. And you know, in Oklahoma, when you look on the runway, and there are hay bales surrounding you. Well, I hope you enjoyed that adventure. A little bit different than what I usually put up, but you know what? Every now and then you gotta have a little bit of a fun adventure, and it was quite the exciting adventure in itself. It was about 24 hours in the airplane in the air, flying from Alaska through Canada all the way down to Montana. Then about it would be about an 8-hour trip. It'd be about a 10-hour trip in the air from Montana down to Oklahoma, dodging some weather and some clouds and stuff like that, trying to stay out of the rain. But for a total of 34 hours in a nice little Cessna 172, little bitty cockpit there, but we got through it, and it was quite invigorating, and we now can put a check in that box. But if you like that video, don't forget to like and subscribe, because I am now back at my home, and it is time to get back to work. So I've got a lot of work to do. Here we go.
Location service is not on. Connect. Why is it not connecting?
Your frustration brings me joy.
Justin, this is really irritating. That's why I didn't have it plugged in already.
Operator error. It only does what you tell it to do.